Did President Lincoln have African ancestry? There were some rumors that President Lincoln specifically didn't talk a lot about his mother, Nancy Hanks.
For more than a century, a secret lingered around Abraham Lincoln's mother. Was Nancy Hanks born outside marriage?
Abraham Lincoln's mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln. There's a lot of speculation as to Nancy's early life. Some say that her parents weren't married. Some say she was of mixed race.
A scandal that, in her era, could have ruined lives. Historians argued, but missing records kept the truth elusive. Then DNA entered the story, overturning long-held assumptions with an unexpected genetic signature. The findings recast Lincoln's maternal lineage and complicate the legend of the man himself, resolving one mystery while opening another that science still can't explain. Lincoln's secret confession. In a quiet moment far from the public eye, Abraham Lincoln confided a secret that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He told his trusted law partner, William Herndon, "Billy, I'll tell you something, but keep it a secret while I live. My mother was a..." Such a confession carried heavy weight in 19th century America, where being born outside of marriage was seen as a profound social stain. For Lincoln, a man with presidential ambitions, this secret was not just personal. It was a threat to his entire public image and political future. During Lincoln's youth, illegitimacy carried harsh consequences. Children born outside of marriage were often denied legal rights, inheritance, and social standing. The law labeled them as filius nullius, literally nobody's child, stripping them of protections and legitimacy. Mothers who bore children out of wedlock faced public humiliation and, in some cases, corporal punishment. Lincoln's admission revealed the burden his family bore in a society quick to judge and slow to forgive. Lincoln went further to describe his mother's origins, painting a picture of a woman caught in difficult circumstances. He said Nancy Hanks was the daughter of a nobleman from Virginia, but was born to a poor grandmother who was easily deceived. According to Lincoln, this powerful man took advantage of his grandmother, creating a tangled family history hidden behind polite society's curtains. Though surrounded by scandal, Lincoln spoke of his mother with deep respect and gratitude. "All that I am or ever hope to be, I get from my mother. God bless her," he said, emphasizing the vital influence Nancy had on his character and intellect. Despite the shame others might attach to her birth, Lincoln saw in his mother the root of his determination and strength. Yet, he chose to keep this secret locked away, revealing it only once in his lifetime to the closest confidant he had. This was an act of quiet courage and vulnerability in an era when even whispers of scandal could destroy a man's career. Lincoln understood that the truth about Nancy's birth was not merely a family secret. It was a ticking time bomb that could ruin everything he worked for. For decades, historians had no way to confirm or deny his confession, and the question hung like a shadow over his legacy. After Herndon's biography was published in 1889, disclosing Lincoln's words, the historical community fractured. Some accepted Lincoln's account as truthful, while others viewed it with suspicion or dismissed it outright. The debate over Nancy Hanks's status became a battleground, reflecting broader tensions about reputation, evidence, and lineage. Lincoln's confession set the foundation for a mystery that would echo through history. Was Nancy genuinely illegitimate, or was the truth more complicated than even he realized? The lines between truth and gossip blurred as generations wrestled with the scant documentary record and conflicting oral accounts. As the controversy deepened, tangible proof remained elusive. The story of Nancy's birth remained tangled in rumor and partial records, leaving Lincoln's secret suspended amid hope, doubt, and speculation. Yet, the history of Lincoln's mother was only beginning to unfold, as the next chapters would show how competing narratives fought to claim her story. The illegitimacy debate. One side of the debate leaned heavily on historical court records from Mercer County, Kentucky, that seemed to corroborate Lincoln's confession. In November 1789, a woman named Lucy Hanks was indicted for fornication, an accusation generally reserved for unmarried women who gave birth. This legal document created a timeline suggesting Nancy Hanks was indeed born out of wedlock. It casts Lucy as Nancy's mother and places the family under the weight of public scandal from its earliest days. Following the indictment, Lucy Hanks married Henry Sparrow in April 1790, which suggests a post-birth legitimization attempt common in that era. For many supporters of the illegitimacy theory, this sequence confirmed public records aligned eerily well with the whispered family truth. They argued that the stain of bastardy trailed the Hanks family from the beginning, shaping their social and legal realities. This narrative gained traction because it fit Lincoln's own confession and the known social conditions of the time. Illegitimacy was not unusual, but carried harsh consequences that made privacy nearly impossible. Documents like indictments were formal reminders of social norms and penalties, grounding rumors in official records. The supporters presented evidence that showed both the legal situation and the cultural background of the case. The American communities of that time considered such legal charges to be serious matters that could bring about major changes. The charges against him would lead to major limitations on his ability to inherit property and hold public office, according to the description Lincoln gave of his mother's difficulties. The evidence presented in court proved strong, yet it failed to establish actual proof of its claims. The court documents provide one version of events, which fails to depict the actual relationships between people and the detailed parts of each case. The name Lucy existed as a common name, which made it difficult to distinguish between different women who appeared in historical records. The situation created a state that permitted competing explanations to exist alongside other potential explanations. Historians considered these documents to be the most compelling evidence that supported Lincoln's clear admission of his involvement in the case. The birth of Nancy Hanks is presented through the lens of her life, which included difficult times and periods of social rejection, and times when her legal status remained uncertain. The public perception of Lincoln's family background from his youth remained affected by this interpretation throughout many years. The researchers needed to create a solution that could solve the opposing family tree evidence that proved the illegitimacy case untrue. The critics considered the Mercer documents to be parts of a complex mystery that permitted multiple explanations to exist. As Lincoln's maternal story stood at this crossroads, another powerful theory emerged, offering a competing vision of his mother's origins. The Shipley family theory. Opponents of the illegitimacy view insisted that Lucy Hanks was, in fact, Lucy Shipley, a woman believed to have legally married James Hanks before his death. This version held that Nancy was born into a marriage, making her birth legitimate and removing the shadow of scandal. Proponents pointed to genealogical links tying the Hanks and Shipley families, arguing these connections reflected lawful unions rather than whispers of bastardy. This narrative rested on the assumption that local rumors and distant memories had distorted the family's true story over time. They suggested that H. Herndon's account was biased or flawed, colored by decades of hearsay and the shifting needs of political narrative. This argument put documentary evidence in a different light, challenging the reliability of confessions and court records. The Shipley theory supporters maintained that Lucy Shipley and James Hanks had married, but their marriage went missing or became unknown, which resulted in people mistaking their identity and making wrong deductions about Nancy's social position. The family documents and legal papers demonstrated that the household operated according to legal requirements, which matched typical family arrangements that existed during that time period. The alternative perspective received support from multiple family trees and early biographies, which showed how families maintained their existence through time without experiencing any breaks. The Shipley descendants transmitted stories that proved their legitimacy, which they used to maintain their social standing against the public scandal. The study presented Lincoln's maternal ancestry through a typical framework, which showed how his family fit into the social structure of Virginia and Kentucky. The 1941 debate reached its peak when Lincoln biographer Lewis Warren refuted the illegitimacy claim by labeling it a Herndon myth. Warren urged historians to abandon their focus on attractive stories and accept the Shipley lineage as an established fact. He used his research to change the most commonly held beliefs, which he did by proving his family links through official records. The evidence that Warren used to reach his conclusions about Lucy Hanks and Lucy Shipley proved insufficient to establish their identity as the same person. The genealogists discovered both gaps and contradictions, which resulted in their battle to solve the existing ambiguity. The parties involved in the dispute remained uncertain about the outcome, which resulted in an unresolved situation. Lincoln scholarship throughout the 20th century developed because of the conflict between these two family stories. The two factions maintained their positions, which created more confusion about the issue instead of bringing about a resolution. The evidence that opposed each other created a confusing mixture that combined historical facts and legendary elements to define Nancy Hanks' birthplace. The ongoing dispute about genealogy research demonstrates two fundamental facts about family history research. Researchers face challenges to establish their lineage, which results in incomplete family records. The story of Nancy Hanks shows how three elements of legend, record, and memory intersect to create challenges for us when we try to uncover one precise truth. As historians wrestled with these competing threads, a new tool arrived, one that promised to cut through doubt with science rather than speculation. Conflicting historical interpretations. The debate over Nancy Hanks's origins took on new intensity as historians and biographers weighed in on both sides. Some scholars embraced Lincoln's secret, accepting that illegitimacy and scandal shaped his mother's story. Others regarded the illegitimacy claim as little more than rumor or a convenient political myth constructed long after the fact. This division mirrored larger struggles historians often face with incomplete records and deeply personal family histories. One prominent voice in the controversy was Lewis Warren, who published influential findings in 1941. Warren dismissed the Herndon Confession as sensational and biased, labeling it a myth rather than a historical fact. He argued that the existing documentary evidence favored the Shipley family connection and urged others to drop what he saw as scandalous speculation in favor of a more measured, evidence-based approach. His view gained traction in academic circles, shifting the debate away from illegitimacy toward genealogical legitimacy. The evidence remained mainly circumstantial as Warren presented his challenge to the case. The document collections from the late 17th century existed as unfinished records that contained conflicting information, which created various interpretation possibilities. Court indictments and marriage records proved Nancy's legitimacy or illegitimacy, yet their existence demonstrated the intricate nature of frontier family relationships, according to some historians. The situation became more complex because heritage practices and community storytelling traditions created additional challenges. The stories that people passed through time usually contained inconsistencies because they had been altered to maintain personal honor or for political gain. The historical events became harder to distinguish because all the original witnesses had passed away. The resulting situation created a set of stories that presented different truth aspects because each story depended on who told it. Historians disputed whether Herndon's source material contained trustworthy information. Herndon became Lincoln's law partner, whom people considered trustworthy, yet he documented Lincoln's confession, which he heard decades earlier because he lost his memory of the event. Some critics suggested Lincoln might have exaggerated or framed his mother's origins to explain personal hardships or deflect political attacks, which public figures commonly practiced. The Shipley theory received validation through genealogical charts, which showed marriage records linking Lucy Shipley to James Hanks, who established a permanent, lawful connection between them. The proponents of this argument stated that it demonstrated the actual social standards that existed in Virginia and Kentucky during that time period. The interpretation depicted Nancy Hanks as a legitimate product of recognized marriage and traditional family structure, which opposed the darker story. The two sides maintained their respective positions because family histories had taken control of their personal beliefs and identity. The two parties maintained their respective narratives, which they presented as a conflict between scandal and dignity. The two parties reached a stalemate, which resulted in an unresolved issue about how to create a unified narrative from their conflicting memories and incomplete historical data. The ongoing uncertainty about Nancy Hanks's background showed the challenges that exist when researchers attempt to trace personal histories through official governmental records. The study demonstrated that historical silences express themselves with equal power when compared to historical statements, while personal suffering and cultural shame make it difficult to find the actual truth. As the 20th century closed, historians faced the limits of traditional research, leaving the question tantalizingly open, until science offered a new path forward. Breakthrough in DNA. Genealogy. In October 2015, genetic genealogy emerged as a powerful new tool to finally address the question of Nancy Hanks's origins. Suzanne Holstrom, a genealogist skilled in DNA research, led a study designed to answer what documents and oral histories could not. The team focused on mitochondrial DNA, or mtDNA, which is passed exclusively from mother to child without recombination, preserving a direct maternal genetic lineage over centuries. mtDNA's unique inheritance made it ideal for tracing Nancy's maternal line, but a significant challenge remained. Abraham Lincoln's own descendants ended without daughters, so the researchers had to find living female relatives who shared the same maternal ancestry. This search expanded beyond Lincoln's immediate line, reaching into the broader family of his grandmother, Anne Lee Hanks. Through painstaking genealogical work, the team identified women descended from different daughters of Anne Lee, forming what became known as Group A. To test competing family narratives, the team also located women descended in a direct female line from the Shipley family, Group B participants. According to the Shipley theory, these two groups should share identical mitochondrial DNA if Lucy Hanks was truly Lucy Shipley. If not, their DNA would tell a different story and reveal which lineage they held.
So first we need to go to Abraham Lincoln's family tree. Let's say his mother's mother, his grandmother, was potentially, let's say she was a mulatto or something. So that's one side of his DNA. But at the end of the day, these reports are unsubstantiated.
Samples were collected via simple cheek swabs and analyzed in specialized labs. Sequencing the mitochondrial genomes, the researchers compared genetic markers between the two groups, searching for matches or differences that could confirm or disprove long-standing genealogical claims. Each step carried the potential to rewrite centuries of family lore. The results arrived with striking clarity. All women in Group A carried the same mtDNA haplogroup, identified as haplogroup X1c, a rare genetic signature scarcely found in Europe. The Group B Shipley descendants, however, did not share this genetic marker. Their mtDNA types were distinct enough to rule out the Shipley connection as the maternal line shared with Nancy Hanks. This breakthrough effectively dismantled one side of the debate, providing scientific evidence that Lucy Hanks was not Lucy Shipley. Instead, the data reinforced the line of descent through the Hanks maternal ancestry and lent strong support to Lincoln's confession and related records suggesting illegitimacy. The DNA confirmed what documentary history had long suggested but could never conclusively prove. Haplogroup X itself is relatively rare in Europe, present in only about 2% of the population. But the X1C branch is even more extraordinary. Its origins trace mainly to regions in North Africa, the Horn of Africa, and the Near East, places far removed from European ancestry, narrowly conceived. Finding this marker linked Lincoln's maternal line to a far broader and more complex geographic heritage than previously imagined. While the DNA solved a crucial piece of the puzzle, it also drew a distinct line around remaining mysteries. Mitochondrial DNA can trace maternal ancestry, but cannot reveal paternal identity. The question of Lincoln's grandfather, the Virginia planter who transformed the family's future, remains concealed by time and beyond the reach of current genetic methods. The power of DNA to confirm, and yet to mystify, underscores the enduring nature of history and family. Even as science illuminates long-hidden truths, some secrets resist discovery, inviting continued curiosity and exploration. The revelations from DNA genealogy did not just settle a long-standing debate. They opened a new chapter connecting Abraham Lincoln to a complex global story of ancestry and identity. Rare genetic markers discovered. The mitochondrial DNA results revealed more than just a family connection. They uncovered a genetic signature almost unheard of in Europe. The women descended from Nancy Hanks's maternal line all carried haplogroup A1C, a rare subset of haplogroup X. This marker was surprising because haplogroup X itself is present in only about 2% of Europeans, making its presence in Lincoln's lineage exceptional. More notably, the X1C branch is exceptionally scarce, with its genetic roots traced primarily to regions far from Europe, such as North Africa, the Horn of Africa, and parts of the Near East. This means that Abraham Lincoln's maternal ancestry connects to a wider and more complex geographic tapestry than conventional histories had suggested. Unlike the typical European haplogroups common among early American settlers, this rare DNA branch ties Lincoln's family to regions with rich and ancient histories far beyond the borders of colonial Virginia or Kentucky. The scattered presence of X1C carriers in Europe, found sporadically in Italy, Ireland, and Norway, adds to its mystique and rarity. Such a discovery challenges simplistic views of American heritage rooted solely in European ancestry. Instead, Lincoln's DNA reveals a layered background that transcends easy classification, underscoring how migration and identity weave diverse patterns across generations. This rare genetic marker is a tangible reminder that American roots can be surprisingly cosmopolitan even in the earliest families. The discovery of this haplogroup brought a new perspective on Lincoln's maternal line, casting it as part of a global story with connections threading through unexpected regions. Scientific evidence transformed family lore into a broader narrative reflecting hemispheric and even intercontinental journeys. This shifted how scholars and descendants alike perceived the origins of one of America's most iconic figures. Abraham Lincoln's maternal lineage becomes the first American genetic study in history to establish its unique genetic connection because of the uncommon mtDNA found in his historical record. The historical record presents challenges for historians who study the foundational events that people have shared through time. The textbook genealogical trees that people learn about their identity need correction because actual identity exists at a higher level of complexity. The genetic discovery reveals the maternal heritage of Lincoln, but it shows that his paternal ancestry still remains unknown. Haplogroup X1C shows its direct link to mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers who belong to a continuous female ancestry. The DNA shows one family lineage, while it keeps the other family lines hidden, especially the connection to Lincoln's grandfather. The rare genetic evidence about Lincoln increases his historical importance because it confirms existing family accounts, while it creates unknown possibilities about his ancestral history. The DNA evidence shows its ability to change historical understanding through its power to accomplish what no single document can achieve by merging scientific evidence with storytelling to discover hidden truths. The scientific process identified the extraordinary maternal marker through which people discover their historical roots, although past mysteries continue to endure in the present. The genetic line intersects personal histories to create a deeper mystery, which prevents a complete understanding of Lincoln's complex ancestry. Uncovering this rare haplogroup invites us to appreciate the hidden diversity in America's foundational figures and to embrace the rich complexities beneath seemingly simple family stories. As the DNA illuminated Lincoln's maternal roots, an important limitation of this tool became clear, reminding us that some secrets must remain. What DNA could not reveal. Mitochondrial DNA offers a direct window into maternal ancestry, but comes with inherent limits. Most notably, it cannot identify paternal lineage. While the study confidently traced Nancy Hanks's maternal line back through generations, it provides no answers about her father. This missing piece remains one of the deepest mysteries in Lincoln's family history, guarded carefully by time and surviving records. Lincoln himself alluded to the shadowed identity of his maternal grandfather, the nobleman so-called of Virginia, who, according to the family story, took advantage of Nancy's grandmother. Despite decades of research, this prominent figure's true name and background have never been definitively revealed, leaving a key chapter unwritten.
So your mitochondrial DNA was inherited intact from your mother, who got it from her mother, and so on. And so this provides a record of the maternal line right back to the origins of humans.
DNA, for all its power, is silent on this critical question because mtDNA passes only down female lines. The identity of Lincoln's grandfather holds great significance not only for genealogists, but for understanding the social and cultural context of Abraham Lincoln's early life. It may contain clues about the family's social standing, possible influences shaping Nancy's life, and, by extension, aspects of Lincoln's own character and opportunities. The research methods of historical inquiry, which involve studying court documents, will records, personal letters, and local historical accounts, establish the family history limits that DNA testing cannot exceed from a grandfather's identity. DNA testing determines maternal relationships through confirmation or rejection, but it cannot establish complete family ties because it needs paternal connections to create a full family picture. The scientific boundary that defines known scientific facts shows us about science's current limits. The DNA analysis process produces answers that create new questions because scientists face challenges in reconstructing historical human lives. Lincoln's family narrative demonstrates how clear facts and secret details exist together in his family tale. The grandfather question leads to a wider examination of historical inheritance patterns, which grant more rights to paternal bloodlines than to maternal bloodlines, while modern research shows growing interest in maternal ancestry, from which our knowledge still lacks a complete understanding. The story of Lincoln demonstrates this unequal distribution of ancestral identity, which needs re-evaluation because people perpetually pass down ancestral heritage. The maternal link discovery contains scientific evidence that proves maternal ties through research that connects scientific study with genealogical research. The research base provides a foundation for conducting future studies, while citizens of America can better understand the complex historical narratives that have shaped the country's development. The truth about Lincoln's origins has reached its clearest point during this time period. Yet, the unresolved details keep the story alive, an invitation to future explorers of history and DNA alike. Some secrets remain sealed, ensuring that Abraham Lincoln's family saga continues to inspire curiosity and discovery. The interplay of truth and enigma in Lincoln's ancestry reminds us that history is not only about facts, but also about the stories left untold, the shadows where mystery endures. As the science illuminated his maternal lineage, it also set the stage for understanding how Lincoln's legacy remains entwined with both confirmed history and enduring questions. Legacy of mystery and identity. The revelations about Abraham Lincoln's maternal ancestry add a remarkable new layer to his legacy, blending confirmed history with enduring mystery. DNA evidence has affirmed parts of his family story once dismissed or doubted, reinforcing his mother Nancy Hanks's place as the daughter of Lucy Hanks, but also marking their lineage with an exceptionally rare genetic signature. This discovery connects Lincoln to a broader human story stretching beyond traditional North American and European roots. Lincoln's maternal DNA, traced to the uncommon haplogroup Swan-C, ties him to regions like North Africa and the Near East, underscoring how identity and heritage are often far richer and more complex than popular myth suggests.
His mother's side is a bit more interesting because up until recently there's been some mystery over his mother's parentage. His mother's name was Nancy Hanks, but she was also known as Nancy Sparrow because as a child she was adopted by Thomas Sparrow and Elizabeth Hanks.
It reminds us that American history, even at its earliest stages, reflects a tapestry woven from diverse threads not easily categorized. This complexity invites us to rethink simplistic ancestry and recognize the global connections embedded in individual lives. The ongoing search for Lincoln's grandfather proves that modern science lacks the ability to find all hidden facts. Genetic studies can accurately trace maternal ancestry, but they fail to identify Nancy Hanks's father or explain her social environment at the time of her birth. The ongoing mystery prevents a complete understanding of Lincoln's family history, which maintains a balance between known facts and unknown elements. The combination of revelation and mystery reflects Abraham Lincoln's life because he emerged from difficulties through his hidden experiences and his ability to endure. His success in overcoming challenges stemming from his mother's birthplace discrimination demonstrates how social structures operated during America's early years. The genetic findings provide deeper insights into early American social structures, while shedding light on Lincoln's development as a leader who worked to achieve his goals. Lincoln's maternal heritage shows that historical creation happens through written records and recollections, and through scientific research, which merges with storytelling traditions. DNA research in combination with genealogy and historical studies creates new methods to discover past human experiences, but it also warns us about the boundaries of our understanding. The text directs readers to practice humility about the numerous unexplored connections that remain beyond their present ability to detect. The story of Nancy Hanks and her descendants shows how American heritage contains unanticipated connections and complicated life experiences. The research displays the various components that shape national identity because it fights against conventional identity definitions, which focus on one specific historical period. Understanding different cultural backgrounds helps people understand the historical figures who became legends. The research findings provide important knowledge to both historians and descendants of the subjects. The findings show what was previously unknown while revealing new information about existing family stories. The findings establish that certain aspects of human experience remain unexplained because they create an ongoing search for knowledge about past events. Lincoln's uncommon maternal DNA functions as a historical symbol that represents his complicated heritage, which contains both visible and hidden aspects of his history. The historical record exists as a duality that contains both established historical facts and ongoing research into personal identity and family tree origins and their relation to ancestral heritage. Lincoln's ancestry investigation reveals one fundamental truth, because it shows that human history remains in constant development while people experience unexpected encounters with authentic historical events. The present story urges all people to explore their ancestry because those roots determine their personal development throughout life. The research results from these findings, which establish a new understanding of Lincoln's historical character but not his actual life events, are explained through their explanation of his historical background. His story becomes less about a singular rise from obscurity and more about the quiet persistence of lives and identities that history rarely records in full. The gaps in his lineage echo the gaps in the historical record for countless ordinary people whose experiences shaped the nation indirectly, through resilience rather than recognition. The ongoing investigation into Lincoln's family background demonstrates why history continues to exist as an active research field that never reaches its final conclusion. Each new method of inquiry opens doors while leaving others firmly shut, reminding us that the past is never fully possessed, only approached. In Lincoln's case, the coexistence of scientific discovery and unanswered questions mirrors the broader human condition. We inherit fragments, interpret meanings, and continue searching, aware that mystery itself is part of what gives history its lasting power. Abraham Lincoln's maternal DNA has reshaped our understanding of his family story, blending history, science, and mystery in powerful ways. This discovery shows us that identity is complex and that some secrets may always remain just beyond reach. If you found this exploration fascinating, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more thought-provoking history and science stories. Thanks for watching.